What an exciting night this is going to be. Thanks for being here. Ahlan wa sahlan wa rahabu fikum. Greetings and welcome to the annual Presidential Address and Awards Ceremony sponsored by Taylor & Francis. My name is Walid Afifi and I'm the first Vice President of the National Communication Association. Before we begin tonight's program, I would ask that we pause for a moment of reflection. NCA would like to acknowledge that the land on which we gather for the 108th Annual Convention in New Orleans is ancestral and unceded territory of the Chirimacha and Choctaw people, past and present. NCA acknowledged that it's often gathered upon unceded lands and that those gatherings manifested the exclusions and erasures of many indigenous peoples. We acknowledge the grave harm that colonialism brought to these lands, in particular, the erasure of both the indigenous and African identities via slavery and via racist laws that segregated all peoples into binary classifications of white and black. This acknowledgement demonstrates our commitment to begin the process of working to dismantle the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism. It is now my pleasure to introduce NCA's 108th president, Dr. Roseanne M. Manzig. Dr. Manzig is a University Distinguished Professor in the Department of Communication Studies at Texas State University, where she has been a member of the faculty since 1987. Her research focuses on images of women, their rhetorical uses of history, the construction of public memory in museums and monuments, and women and white supremacy. As a side note, she was also part of the opening session, which spoke to exactly those issues in New Orleans. She has co-authored a scholarly book about the rhetoric of Sojourner Truth, published numerous articles and book chapters examining historical and contemporary rhetoric, and served as editor of Women's Studies in Communication. She has received 2 Fulbright Scholar Awards in India and in Poland, and has presented numerous international research lectures. She also was selected as an American Council on Education Fellow. Dr. Manzig's extensive professional service contributions include President of the Southern States Communication Association, 2 terms of NCA's Finance Committee, 12 years as a member of the Affirmative Action Intercaucus Committee, now NCA's IDEA Council, and 15 years as chair of the Presidential Work-Life Advisory Council on her campus. If that wasn't enough, she has also served on numerous editorial boards. Her contributions have been recognized with national and regional professional association awards for teaching, mentoring, and research, including the 2014 Michael M. Osborne Teacher Scholar Award and the 2020 T. Earl Johnson Edwin Paget Distinguished Service Award from SSCA, as well as the 2017 Francine Marriott Award for contributions to women communication from the NCA's Women Caucus. So we owe Dr. Manzig tremendously as a discipline, obviously, in the many, many ways in which she's contributed to our associations and to our discipline broadly. On a personal note, in my 2 years as officer at NCA, I've witnessed the deep, deep dedication that Roseanne has for NCA and all of its members. At least weekly, if not daily, multiple things that she does that go unnoticed and unseen by most people. She called the DEI Task Force, the members of which put together an incredibly powerful report that will play a very important role in structural changes at NCA and was passed and was recognized officially at LA this year. And she has been dogged in leading NCA through a strategic planning process that is setting the stage for an association that will make the discipline and its members proud. Indeed, that work has already created change and will continue to do so. All of us in the discipline owe Roseanne a debt of gratitude for her use of the strategic planning process to create sustainable and impactful change that speaks to the desires and needs of members. Please join me in welcoming NCA's 108th President, Dr. Roseanne M. Manzig.
Oh dear. Sorry? Just not staying on. Okay. All right. I'll back up. All right, but it's been a fantastic conference, and I'd like to recognize and thank Waleed. And it has been significant and wonderful to talk about place, and that's going to have lasting impact. And thank you as well to the members of the NCA Executive Committee, the Legislative Assembly, and all of you who so generously give your time and your expertise to our association. I especially wish to acknowledge the talented and dedicated staff in our national office, and in particular to express my gratitude to Dr. Sherry Miles Cohen, our Executive Director. Sherry and I embarked on a journey in NCA leadership together at the start of this most transformative year, and I so very much have valued her counsel and her commitment. I also know that I would not stand here today without the support and the faith of so very many people, including my family and my colleagues, generations of students, and especially those longtime friends who have sustained me through the hardest of times and also shared my joys. And although they are no longer with us, at each stop on my academic travels, I also was very fortunate to have had a significant mentor, and I wish to acknowledge them today. George Zigemuller, Craig Cutbirth, Bruce Gronbeck, and Suzanne Fitch. As I began, I'm humbled by this responsibility of serving as your NCA president, but I also have been exhilarated by this opportunity to make what I hope has been a significant contribution to an association that has given so much to me, and indeed to all of us. We have much to celebrate this year. As you just heard, our first comprehensive strategic plan in over a decade was approved by the Legislative Assembly on Wednesday. Our first inclusion, diversity, equity, and access plan also was endorsed by our Legislative Assembly overwhelmingly. We launched our first NCA member survey. We initiated our first steps towards significant IDEA actions in concert with some external consultants. And we signed a testamentary agreement with Dr. Karen Foss and Dr. Sonia Foss for a significant future gift to NCA to fund fellowships for mid-career women-identified members. So thank you, Karen and Sonia. So together, we have weathered an extraordinarily challenging time in our personal and our professional lives, especially these last few years. The global pandemic has transformed our teaching, research, and service pursuits and wrought lasting effects in our everyday lives, while division, disinformation, and discrimination threaten to erode our fundamental rights and democratic systems. Yet, it is in the most difficult times that we often find our greatest resolve and realize our greatest strengths. I believe that is true of each of us as individuals, and it is true of this association, which of course is the driving force that brings us together now, in this time, in this place. Our histories shape us, our choices define us, and our actions become our legacies. Now, when I chose last year's convention theme of renewal and transformation, I was inviting us to reflect on this dynamic of, at once, looking backward to understand what's of value, as well as casting our view forward to envision the paths toward meaningful change. So for the next few minutes, I invite you to join me in considering the prospects and promises facing us as we chart the path to NCA's future, within two guiding principles: enacting conscience and communicating presence. We've created the plans. Now, pursuing the question of what lies ahead for NCA is essential and imperative. So first, conscience resides in all of us. It's our personal sense of principles that guide our choices. The word conscience comes from the Latin conscientia, which is knowledge within oneself, a sense of right, a moral sense, and from conscience, to know and to be mutually aware. So in the best sense, conscience leads us to engage in actions that accord with our fundamental principles, both individually and in concert with values we share in our communities. But what does it mean to act with conscience? I would like to introduce you to Mary Frances Zomkowski. She's 18 years old in this photo. It is 1943. Mary was born in 1925 in Hamtramck, Michigan, the first-generation daughter of Polish immigrants. Like many women from working-class families, she did not see a future in education for herself. As the youngest of 6 children, she sought work to help support her parents rather than finish high school. Then, the world around her exploded as the exigence of World War II called for common citizens to make extraordinary choices. Mary answered that call by going to work in an airplane factory. So yes, my mother was a true Rosie the Riveter. Actually, she told me that she was a rivet catcher, which sounds like the more difficult job. But that is the photo that I wish I had, of course, the one of Mary in the iconic denim overalls and red bandana, bravely riding the streetcar down Woodward Avenue in Detroit to her midnight shift. Now, I've told you my mother's story because for me, her actions define the essence of conscience, choosing to act according to the needs of your community and in concert with your principles. But how can NCA act with conscience in accordance with our principles to best serve our members while engaging in the multiple communities in which we live and work? As we chart our future course, our efforts must be grounded in the prospects and lessons that our past and our progress offer to us. So in the decades since our last comprehensive strategic planning process in 2011, our association has undergone significant changes and profound challenges. NCA is a substantially different association. We've added 6 new divisions and 3 new caucuses. In 2017, the Affirmative Action and Intercaucus Committee became the Diversity Council, subsequently renamed the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access Council, and it was elevated to equal status with our other governance councils, which gave ultimately, finally, executive committee representation for its chair. And we will add a new Mentorship and Leadership Development Council to our government structure in 2023. NCA also has expanded its external outreach, including our public program series, podcast, enhanced social media presence, and the creation of the NCA Center for Communication, Community Collaboration, and Change. And just this year, we launched our first new journal in 20 years, our 12th, entitled Communication and Race. But in the past decade, our association also has enjoined significant conversations about its exclusionary practices, particularly marked by the publication of the article Communication So White in the Journal of Communication in 2018, and the Rhetoric So White Forum in the Quarterly Journal of Speech in 2019. We faced a reckoning around issues of discrimination, racism, and coloniality. These conversations reached a nexus in 2019 with the controversy over how our distinguished scholars are selected. Subsequently, NCA initiated a series of efforts to address these critiques, including how award committees are constituted and expanding efforts to open access to association leadership, editorships, and governance roles. And as we look now to NCA's future, these kinds of significant reflexive conversations must continue. We're only getting started, and we must center those as we act with conscience to put idea in all that we do, all of our choices, all of our actions. Indeed, 25 years ago, In her 1997 presidential address, Judith Trent noted that, quote, "Over the years, a number of my predecessors have focused their presidential addresses on equality, diversity, and multiculturalism, and now I extend that challenge. More than it has been in many years, the threat is real," unquote. Well, 25 years later, NCA is called again, insistently, to answer that same challenge and to address an intensified threat. We have the extraordinary opportunity to marshal all of our resources and energies to realize the transformative change that's possible. Carefully considering our legacy and implementing our vision and goals with conscience, though, will require us to marshal our ability to communicate presence. So, in the new rhetoric, Chaim Perlman and Lucy Ulbrecht's Taiteka describe presence as the rhetorical process of, quote, "displaying of certain elements on which the speaker wishes to center attention so that they may occupy the foreground of the hearer's consciousness." The term presence also encompasses several other definitions: the choice to occupy a place, a protective or enabling force, and a lasting spirit. And these definitions invite us to think about how NCA will need to create presence, ensure presence, and honor presence. So in essence, we have to choose what we believe is the most important in the future of our association, just as we also need to make difficult choices in our personal lives. To illustrate, let me briefly return you to Mary's story. In her next chapter, she meets Chester Monjuk in 1947. Although this is her tale, his path notably was also one of conscience and choice. Also a first-generation child of Polish immigrants, he chose to leave college to enlist in the Army. Amid fighting in Germany, Chet was injured and imprisoned, but was one of the fortunate who returned home from the war. Mary and Chester married in 1948, had their first son in 1950, the same year that they moved to the Detroit suburb of Berkeley, had their second son in 1953, and then that's where I entered the story, as Mary's youngest child and her only daughter in 1959. Haruki Murakami writes in Kafka on the Shore, "And once the storm is over, you won't remember how you made it through, how you managed to survive. You won't even be sure whether the storm is really over. But one thing is certain, when you come out of the storm, you won't be the same person who walked in. That's what the storm's all about." Well, the experience of living through the war changed Mary, shaped her next set of choices, and clarified what was most important to her. My mother never returned to work and instead embraced the tasks of raising her family and building a home. My father also made his own choices, never returning to college, but instead working for the Chrysler Tank Arsenal until he retired in 1978. Well, as was the case with my parents' post-war decisions, NCA, I'm going to get some assistance here in a moment. As was the case with my parents' post-war decisions, NCA must recognize the inevitability of change and embrace the transformative opportunities that it presents. Indeed, as Murakami writes, while they are devastating, storms also evoke possibility. Our association has emerged from our own challenges, both different and stronger. Still, to move forward, we need to decide our courses of action and what we will make present in charting our future. So first, presence entails influence, particularly in this turbulent era of post-truths and fractured communities. NCA must take up the responsibility to defend the essential role of debate and dialogue, as well as the value of our research and the pursuit of knowledge. In the midst of desperate voices and resurgent anti-intellectualism, communication scholars, teachers, and practitioners must lead the efforts to defend the essential importance of informed critique and deliberative discussion. We also must be bold in serving the public good and ensuring that communication has presence as the essential component of a conscientious citizenry. Second, presence is defined as the condition of being present, the actual person who is present, and as something present of concrete or visible nature. So NCA needs to be responsive and vigilant regarding who is present among our association membership, leadership, and governance roles, journal editors, and published authors. We've made some significant strides, but this work absolutely must continue. We need to pursue additional structural changes and launch new programs for leadership pipelines, student support, and member development. Third, presence is defined as one's bearing, carriage, or air, as well as a spirit that is felt. In this regard, NCA must foster an association culture and presence that is inclusive and ethically centered. We will need to be at once fiscally sound, but also innovative, to be creative and responsive to the needs of members amid the changing landscapes of higher education funding, technological advances, and the publishing industry changes, among the many shifting grounds that we will encounter. Moreover, our association must uphold the significant commitments to social justice, to peace and personal expression that are captured in our credos and our public statements. How we will define our external engagements must be central to our deliberations about the future of our association. For me, the way forward is clear, that NCA must do much more to address the significant issues that we face and to express why communication scholarship, pedagogy, and practice are essential in creating a better world. So as I conclude, let me interject one more chapter of Mary's story, which is my favorite part of her tale of conscience and presence. Chester passed away in 2016, leaving Mary alone after 67 years together. But she truly surprised everyone by choosing to sell their home and move into an independent senior apartment. As I like to think of it, at the age of 88, she finally had a room of her own. She embraced her life in her new community, made new friends, read virtually every book in that library, and positively blossomed with grace and good humor to the age of 96. Mary and I had disagreed on so many things over the years. Through the rebellious 1960s in which I came of age, the culture classes of the 1970s that marked my college years, and my feminist awakenings during graduate studies in the 1980s, I had rejected the very things that gave my mother's life meaning. But in this last chapter, we found a way back to each other. Unexpectedly, it was a bond forged in widowhood, and then facing together the health challenges of her last year before she passed away in August of 2021. But in that time, we both chose to grant presence to the time we had together and the love that we shared across our differences. So the moral of Mary's story is a simple one: to act with conscience while holding fast to our principles, to grant presence to what we believe is most important, and to boldly embrace transformative change amid even the hardest of challenges. So as we make difficult choices about how to advance our association, let's commit to embrace the prospects for transformative change that truly will make a difference for our members and for the communities in which we work and live. And even when we disagree about our desired directions, We are called to act in concert with our shared principles. Our core values must serve as the unifying force that guides our deliberations. As forthrightly expressed in NCA's Credo for Ethical Communication, quote, "We endorse freedom of expression, diversity of perspective, and tolerance of dissent to achieve the informed and responsible decision-making fundamental to society." I believe that our differences have and will continue to be the source of our strength and our vitality as an association. When I began my term as NCA president, I'd hoped that many diverse voices would be engaged in formulating our future vision and our mission. And now, as we prepare to boldly venture into that transformative future, we need your passion, we need your energy, and your commitment to look at those possible paths carefully and critically and make the hard decisions ahead. By enacting conscience and communicating presence, I am confident that we will lead NCA forward. And I very much look forward to taking that journey with you. Thanks.
Thank you, Roseanne. We are now on to the awards portion of this session. Before we go there, I wanted to acknowledge staff in following with Roseanne's sort of call, but also just with something that I also mentioned in the opening session, which is I want to start with an acknowledgement of Kristen Yednock. So Kristen, if you're not out here, can you come out here? We need a round of applause for you. Kristen, where are you at?
Busy.
I know she's busy. That's why. Is she around? If not, yes, Kristen, please. I know you're really busy, but you deserve every possible love upon you that we can. Thank you, Kristen. Of course, all NCA staff have been working really hard leading up to the convention and at this convention, but the level of labor that Kristen's put into this is no one will really ever know, including myself. I also wanted to thank the AV staff that they've been working day in and day out here, so thank you, AV staff. And all the laborers in the hotel and around that make our day-to-day comforts possible, frankly. Before we begin the presentation of the NCA Awards, I'd like to acknowledge the 2022 Presidential Citation recipients. At this morning's Legislative Assembly meeting, President Manzik conferred presidential citations to several individuals and institutions. On behalf of NCA and its membership, I would like to thank the following citation recipients for their service to the association. For outgoing Executive Committee members, David McMahon, Officer, Lisa A. Flores, Finance Committee, and Charles E. Morris III, Research Council Chair. For outgoing NCA journal editors, Karen Anderson for the Quarterly Journal of Speech, Mia Consalvo for Critical Studies in Media Communication, Kevin Johnson for Communication and Democracy, David H. Call for Communication Teacher, Joseph Mazer for Communication Education, Kathleen McConnell for Review of Communication, and Paul Schroet for Communication Monographs. Wow. In terms of institutions and departments, the Department of Communication at University of North Carolina, Greensboro, in recognition of extraordinary contributions to the discipline in serving as the first host institution for the NCA Center for Communication, Community Collaboration, and Change, George Mason University for your hospitality and excellence as host of the 2022 NCA Doctoral Honors Seminar, and the University of Nevada, Reno for your hospitality and excellence as host of the 2022 Institute for Faculty Development. And finally, for individual citations, Brenda J. Allen for sharing your voice of conscience with NCA and challenging our association to realize its idea of vision. Leroy Spatchler for your leadership and advocacy in the founding of NCA Indigenous Caucus. Brian Crable in recognition of your outstanding contributions in shepherding the collaboration between the Waterhouse Family Institute and NCA. Rachel Griffin and Ashley Mack for in recognition of outstanding leadership and the NCA Idea Strategic Plan Task Force. Nina Jo Moore for extraordinary contributions in shepherding the NCA Graduate Open House. Kate LaPierre for outstanding contributions to NCA in creating and shepherding the Women's Caucus Womentoring programs. Jaime Guzman, Leandra H. Hernandez, Amanda R. Martinez, and Carlos A. Tarin for outstanding contributions to NCA through creating and administering the NCA La Raza Caucus Mentoring Program. Congratulations and thank you for all the recipients of the Presidential Citation. NCA is now pleased to recognize the following recipients' distinguished achievements in our discipline. Each of this year's awards recipients join an esteemed group of scholars and educators who have been honored in the past for achieving excellence in the area of teaching, research, and service. The Donald H. Aykroyd Award for Outstanding Teaching in Higher Education. The first award this evening is the Donald H. Aykroyd Award for Outstanding Teaching in Higher Education. This year, the Aykroyd Award is presented to Brandy Lawless of the University of San Francisco. Dr. Lawless's application illuminates her pedagogical contributions as a superlative mentor, a leader in the field of community-engaged learning, and a colleague who, quote, not only integrates social justice in the classroom, but also in her pedagogy, scholarship, community engagement, and overall behavior as an educator. Something that this entire conference actually is meant to applaud. Congratulations, Dr. Lawless. The Marcella E. Oberle Award for Outstanding Teaching in Grades K through 12 recognizes teachers in kindergarten through senior high school level who have exhibited both outstanding teaching and a commitment to the communication profession. This year, the Oberle Award is presented to the Haley Waddell Rios of Paul Duke STEM High School in Norcross, Georgia. As an English for speakers of other languages educator, Haley Waddell Rios' work reflects her enduring impact on international high school students. She has shown a deep commitment to students who are learning disabled, diverse, and underserved. It is reflected in her everyday acts. Even sharing an American-style meal, she says, is a teachable moment for her students as they learn to communicate in English. Congratulations, Haley Waddell Rios. The Michael and Suzanne Osborne Community College Outstanding Educator Award recognizes an individual who has made an outstanding contribution through teaching at a community college. This year, the Osborne Award is presented to Trevor Setvin from the Community College of Baltimore County. Dr. Trevor Setvin's application stood out for its demonstration of excellence in teaching and its emphasis on diversity and inclusion, experiential learning, and student engagement. Professor Setvin's commitment to providing a voice to the underrepresented and marginalized populations truly amplifies the spirit of the Osborne Award. Congratulations, Dr. Setvin. Dr. Setvin was unable to attend the ceremony. NCA accepts the award on their behalf. The Bernard J. Brummel Award for Outstanding Scholarship or Distinguished Service in Family Communication recognizes the scholarship and academic leadership of individuals who have made outstanding contributions to the area of family communication. This year, the award is presented to Jody Koenig-Kellis of the University of Nebraska, Lincoln. Dr. Jody Koenig-Kellis has sustained a line of research in the family sense-making process that has resulted in the development of the communicated narrative sense-making theory. She has published 62 peer-reviewed articles, a book, 2 books under contract, and exhibits grant activity. Dr. Kellis has advised 10 doctoral students, and recognitions of her work include multiple awards, such as 6 top paper awards on family communication and others in different NCA divisions and caucuses. Congratulations, Dr. Callis. The Charles H. Wilbert Research Award is presented to an NCA member who has published a journal article or book chapter that has had substantial impact on the discipline. This year, the award is presented to Ronald L. Jackson II from University of Cincinnati for the article Cultural Contracts Theory Towards an Understanding of Identity and Negotiation, published in Communication Quarterly in 2002. Dr. Jackson's article expanded and transformed theories of identity negotiation by centering difference in the communication practices that express, sustain, and modify the influence and embodiment of one's culture in relation with others. Built upon the chief example of rural African American identity, Jackson pressed the powerful question, how do we select who is worthy of a sustained relationship in the first place? In response, his meticulous and propulsive paradigm provided a map for the deeper and wider development of a theory and practice with the discipline and beyond. Congratulations, Dr. Jackson. The Diamond Anniversary Book Award is presented to the author of the most outstanding scholarly book published in the last 2 years. This year, NCA is conferring 2 awards. The first Diamond Anniversary Book Award is presented to Dr. Karma R. Chavez from the University of Texas at Austin for the book The Borders of AIDS, Race, Quarantine, and Resistance, published by the University of Washington Press in 2021. This insightful book by Karma R. Chavez is a carefully threaded study that is intersectional in its examination of race, nationality, citizenship, and age through the lens of quarantine. The book advances the concept of, quote, alienizing logic, unquote, as a way to think about the intersectional impact of AIDS on queer, migrant populations of color, but also as a logic that is fundamental to the DNA of the United States. Congratulations, Dr. Chavez. The second Diamond Award is presented to Catherine Knight Steele from the University of Maryland for the book Digital Black Feminism, published by the New York University Press in 2021. Dr. Steele's book is a much-needed text that centers an understudied population specifically within a form of liberation. Knight Steele's work draws from a rich legacy of Black feminist scholarship and extends it into the digital realm, offering a concerted look at the practice of, quote, digital Black feminism, and understanding such practices as central to the future of digitality. Congratulations, Dr. Steele. I just want to pause for a second and just note, first of all, it's such an honor and privilege to be able to announce these awards and to be in the presence of such just brilliance. It's honestly, I'm reading, I'm going through it's almost like going through the motions, kind of want to honor everyone, but just thank you all for the work that you do and the brilliance that you are, and I just want to kind of note that. It's just all of you. The Donald P. Cushman Memorial Award honors a top-ranked student-authored paper from all NCA interest groups that rank papers competitively at the NCA National Convention. This year, the Cushman Award is presented to Chelsea E. Moss and Taylor S. Vasquez from the University of Florida for the essay, Make Your Family Proud, Analyzing the Communication of Roles and Identity in Disney's Encanto. The essay by Moss and Taylor applies symbolic interactionism theory to Disney's 2021 film, Encanto, to examine how family roles were communicatively constructed in the fictional family, the Madrigals. Their findings illustrated the complex and ever-fluctuating nature of roles enactment and identity development within the family system, which could lead to a significant source of learning and influence among family members navigating identities, narratives, and shared meanings. Congratulations, Chelsea E. Moss and Taylor S. Vasquez. The Douglas W. Enninger Distinguished Rhetorical Scholar Award honors scholars who have executed research programs in rhetorical theory, rhetorical criticism, or public address studies that demonstrate intellectual creativity, determination, and impact on academic communities. The winner of the Enninger Award is Karma R. Chavez from the University of Texas at Austin. Dr. Karma R. Chavez is department chair and a Bobby and Sherry Patton professor of Mexican American and Latino studies at the University of Texas at Austin. Dr. Chavez has published over 60 journal articles and book chapters, 3 book monographs, and 3 special usage journals. Dr. Chavez has also advanced rhetorical studies by mentoring Latinx and Latinx and communication by developing courses in queer migration rhetoric, queer theory, and rhetoric and social movements and history of American public address. Congratulations, Dr. Chavez, again. The Franklin S. Hayman Award for Distinguished Scholarship in Freedom of Expression is given to the authors of exemplary research published in the areas of freedom of expression. This year, the award is presented to Casey R. Kelly from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln for the article, Whiteness, Repressive Victimhood, and the Foil of the Intolerant Left, published in First Amendment Studies in 2021. Dr. Carson R. Kelly's article concisely addresses key themes related to the First Amendment and freedom of expression. In the use of critical race theory, the work acutely weaves current-day themes of identity politics, speech freedom, weaponized speech, and intolerance, along with the politicized nature of inviting conservative speakers to college campuses. Dr. Kelly also outlines a persistent double standard of protected status and concessions for some speakers to the exclusions of others based on racial identity. Congratulations, Dr. Kelly. The Gerald R. Miller Award, Outstanding Doctoral Dissertation Award, recognizes the most outstanding dissertations completed in the previous year. This year, 3 awards are being presented. The first Miller Award is presented to Aishe Lukmanalu of Northwestern University for the dissertation completed at Georgia State University titled The Relationship Between Environmental Factors and ISIS Economic Messaging. In a timely work, Dr. Lukmanalu argues communication and related multidisciplinary scholars would benefit from studying research data that draws upon the most technologically advanced ways leaders and participants in the upstart Islamic extremist or rebel group known as ISIS or Islamic State managed economic transactions in cyber or e-commerce. Dr. Lukmanalu draws sobering conclusions about the ways communication theories and scholarship can contribute to a greater understanding of the complexity of non- or extra-state actors in influencing politics, culture, and economies in the international sphere. Congratulations, Dr. Lukmanalu. The second Gerald R. Miller Outstanding Doctoral Dissertation Award is to Meredith L. Pruden from the University of North Carolina for the dissertation completed at Georgia State University, Maintaining Frame in Cellosphere, Mapping the Discourse, Representation, and Geographies of Involuntary Celibates Online. Dr. Pruden's dissertation focuses on social media as an increasingly prevalent, visceral mode of human communicative interaction today, studying discourses of people in a co-culture of involuntary celibates. This research is significant for exploring a disturbing trend that merits scrutiny via empirical research into websites that funnel into larger discourses and actions of violent white supremacy. Congratulations, Dr. Pruden. The third Gerald R. Miller Outstanding Doctoral Dissertation Award is presented to Asha Simone Winfield from Louisiana State University for the dissertation completed at Texas A&M University. I Don't See Myself, Exploring Receptions to Hollywood's Construction of Memory Through Black Women's Biopics. Dr. Winfield's dissertation rethinks from an intersectionally reprioritized standpoint the influences of Hollywood's films to misportray members of historically underrepresented communities. The originality of this project and its authors' apt use of focus groups breathes new life into theoretical and methodological considerations of cultural impacts of popular films that diverge from the lived experience and historical realities of Black women. Congratulations, Dr. Winfield. The Golden Anniversary Monograph Award is presented to the most outstanding scholarly monograph published during the previous calendar year. This year, the award is being presented to Daniel C. Brower from Arizona State University and Charles E. Morris III from Syracuse University for the article Decentering Whiteness and AIDS Memory, Indigent Rhetorical Criticism and the Dead of Hart Island, published in Quarterly Journal of Speech in 2021. In their article, Dr. Brower and Dr. Morris examined modalities of remembrance and memorialization grounded by the Hart Island Project to name those buried at Hart Island. This remote location in New York City was used as a burial ground for the city's indigenous and unclaimed. Brower and Morris engaged the problem of whitewashing of AIDS remembering, interrogating who counts as grievable AIDS subjects, and the practice of historical and historicizing frame of interpreting and remembering. As many of you know, Dr. Brower passed away last year unexpectedly. Dan was a pivotal figure in creating and sustaining the annual NCA Queer NoHo celebration, and was a friend and mentor to countless at NCA and the Western States Communication Association. On behalf of the association, we extend our deepest condolences to Dan's family and friends. With that, it is my honor to congratulate Dr. Brower and Dr. Morris for winning NCA's 2022 Golden Anniversary Monograph Award. I do want to note that when Dr. Brower unexpectedly passed, the range of people that he affected just on social media were from the social sciences to the rhetoric to the qualitative to the quantitative was stunning. So it speaks to the impact that he had on the field. The James A. Winans Herbert A. Wych-Elms Memorial Award for Distinguished Scholarship in Rhetoric and Public Address was established by students, colleagues, and admirers of these two distinguished Cornell University professors. This year, the Winans Wych-Elms Award is presented to Catalina Deonis from the University of Oregon for the book Energy Islands, Metaphors of Power, Extractivism and Justice in Puerto Rico, published by University of California Press in 2021. Energy Islands provides an urgent and nuanced portrait of a collective action that resists racial capitalism, colonialism, and climate disruption. Weaving together historical and ethnographic research, this story challenges the dominant narratives of Puerto Rico as a tourist destination and site of quote-unquote natural disasters to demonstrate how fossil fuel economies are inextricably intertwined with colonial practices. Dr. Catalina Deonis was unable to attend the award ceremony this evening. NCA accepts the award on their behalf. Justin had mentioned that he left water, but I didn't quite know where, and then there's 3 of them down there, so thank you, Justin. The James L. Golden Outstanding Student Essay and Rhetoric Award recognized an outstanding essay by an undergraduate or pre-master's graduate student. This year, the award is presented to Isaac James Richard from Brigham Young University for the essay, Your Spirit Fires My Breast, Maria Stewart and the Political Potential of the Feminine Rhetorical Sublime. Recognized as one of the first Black women to address audiences of mixed gender with a political message, Dr. Maria W. Stewart is a rhetorical trailblazer who had to overcome many constraints in her effort to advance a social justice agenda. In his study, Richard draws attention to the way Stewart's oratory deployed and engendered the sublime to disrupt the socio-political status. Congratulations, Isaac James Richard. The Carl R. Wallace Memorial Award seeks to promote and foster philosophical, historical, or critical scholarship in rhetoric and public discourse. This year, the Wallace Award is presented to Joshua Trey Barnett from Penn State University. Dr. Barnett's research expounds on understanding rhetoric's role in influencing how situated humans feel about, make sense of, respond to, and shape the very conditions under which we live with others. Barnett's book project, provisionally titled Saving Suga, Carrying Rhetorics on the Edge of Extinction, looks to explore how ecologists, educators, governments, journalists, activists, and more than human beings care for an endangered species by moving others to care about it. Funds from this award will support an additional research trip to better understand the work of the Hemlock Restoration Initiative. Congratulations, Dr. Barnett. The Lilla A. Heston Award for Outstanding Scholarship in Interpretation and Performance Studies recognizes NCA members who have published research and creative scholarship in interpretation and performance studies. This year, the award is presented to Jake Simmons of Missouri State University and Travis Bersini of Louisiana State University for the article Performance Studies on Communication, published in Texan Performance Quarterly in 2020. Simmons and Brissini offer a comprehensive review and synthesis of the full publication history of the NCA Journal Text and Performance Quarterly. The authors trace the history of the field of performance studies and communication, articulate major disciplinary themes and trends, and project future directions for the field. A truly necessary text for researching and teaching about performance. Congratulations, Dr. Simmons and Brissini. The Mark L. Knapp Award in Interpersonal Communication recognizes an individual who has made significant scholarly contributions to the study of interpersonal communication. This year, the Knapp Award is presented to Valerie Manusov of the University of Washington in Seattle. Dr. Manusov has been a leader in scholarly conversations defining the field of interpersonal communication for more than 30 years. The subjects she has amplified, such as social cognition, nonverbal communication, and mindfulness, have become mainstays in the discipline. Dr. Manusov has also opened doors for future generations by formally mentoring over 50 doctoral and 40 master's degree students, as well as informally mentoring countless others. Congratulations, Dr. Manusov. The Marcia Houston Award honors a junior to mid-level career woman scholar whose scholarship in research, teaching, and service and advocacy to academia and their local communities embodies critically examining social justice issues, diversity, inclusion, and equity. The recipient of the Houston Award is Nikisia S. Gordon of Rochester Institute of Technology. Dr. Gordon's work demonstrates her understanding of the intricacies and complexities of marginalized and underrepresented populations. Critical in nature, Dr. Gordon's work lays a reputable affinity for African American feminist communication scholarship, as it is thoughtful and thought-provoking, and advocates for the empowerment of women relegated to the cultural and political peripheries. Congratulations, Dr. Gordon. The Stephen E. Lucas Debut Publication Award aims to identify and praise a contribution to the discipline by an author publishing their first scholarly book or journal article. This year, the Lucas Award is presented to Richard Branscombe of Carnegie Mellon University for the article, Making Manifest White Supremacist Violence and the Ethics of Allithurgy, published in the Journal of History of Rhetoric in 2021. Branscombe grapples with issues that tragically remain timely and relevant, and does an excellent job of explaining difficult concepts while keeping the subject matter relevant and interesting. The theoretical premise of this piece is strong, combing classical Foucauldian theory with contemporary rhetorical studies on white supremacy, nationalism, and terrorism. Richard Branscombe was unable to attend the ceremony this evening. NCA accepts the award on their behalf. Foucauldian, sorry. The Samuel L. Becker Distinguished Service Award recognizes individuals who have made the greatest contributions to the areas of research, teaching, and service. This year, 2 awards are being presented. The first Becker Award goes to Ronald L. Jackson of University of Cincinnati. Dr. Jackson served as the 2018 president of NCA and is co-founder of the African American Culture and Communication and Culture Division. Dr. Jackson has published an extensive body of work on identity negotiation, African American communication, and critical progressive pedagogy, and makes survival in the academy, profession, everyday life more manageable. Dr. Jackson's service to NCA has been transformative, with a commitment to marginalized voices and to creating space not only for scholarship, but to future generations as they navigate the academy and as we saw last night. Congratulations, Dr. Jackson. The second Becker Award goes to Kent A. Ono of the University of Utah. Dr. Ono served as NCA president in 2020, helped found the Critical and Cultural Studies Division, and has served as an editor and reviewer on countless journals. Dr. Ono has published an extensive body of work that makes the field more inclusive and welcoming. Dr. Ono's work has helped countless scholars study the areas they are passionate about, tackling such as race, gender, sexuality, class, nation, vernacular, and everyday lived experiences. Dr. Ono creates a space for researchers to confidently engage in critical scholarship. Congratulations, Dr. Ono. The IDEA Scholarship Award offers recognition for scholarly engagement within the lens of inclusion, diversity, equity, and access. This year, the award is presented to Shrivithya Ramasubramanian of Syracuse University. Dr. Ramasubramanian's work exemplifies the qualities of applied and published scholarly activities, engaging the principles of inclusion, diversity, equity, and access. Her work centers diversity, inclusion, social justice, anti-racist interventions, media effects, digital literacies, and data justice. Identity, race, ethnicity, gender, youth, and immigrants, difficult dialogues, bias, prejudice reduction, inclusive pedagogy, as well as community-led initiatives, action research, and intercultural global communication. Congratulations, Dr. Ramasubramanian. Thank you, Shrivi. It's really not a difficult name. I'm sorry I butchered it. The Distinguished Scholar Award recognizes and rewards a lifetime of scholarly achievement in the study of communication. The recipients of this award showcase our profession through their long-term commitment to the discipline and their consistent contributions of outstanding scholarship and intellectual leadership. It is my pleasure and honor to present the 2022 NCA Distinguished Scholars. Our first Distinguished Scholar is being awarded posthumously to Theodore Clevenger, Jr. of Florida State University. Dr. Clevenger served as president of the Speech Communication Association, now NCA, in 1972. Dr. Clevenger authored multiple books and more than 70 articles in scholarly journals and was one of the earliest innovators of physiological studies in communication. Through this work, Dr. Clevenger helped to move the discipline from speech to communication and the importance of social scientific work within it. Accepting the NCA Distinguished Scholar Award on Dr. Clevenger's behalf are his daughters, Ruth Clevenger Reynolds and Livy Clevenger Lewis, his grandson, Dr. Theodore Clevenger IV, granddaughter, Kirby Lewis, and son-in-law, Judge George Reynolds III. Congratulations. Our second distinguished scholar to be recognized this year is Robert Asen from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Dr. Robert Asen is the inaugural Stephen E. Lucas Professor of Rhetoric, Politics, and Culture at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. He's also the premier theorist of citizenship and publics in the field, as evidenced by the quality of his 7 books, more than 24 journal articles and book chapters, and the wide circulation and citation of this scholarship. Additionally, Dr. Asen has received nearly $1 million in external funding for his collaborative research on education and public policy discourse, making him one of the leading scholars and a tireless ambassador for the discipline, both in and beyond the academy. Congratulations, Dr. Asen. Our third distinguished scholar to be recognized this year is Tina Maria Harris of Louisiana State University. Dr. Harris is the Douglas I. Manship and Dory Maynard Endowed Chair of Race and Media Cultural Literacy at Louisiana State University. Dr. Harris is an internationally recognized cultural communication scholar critic. Her scholarship makes unique, transformative contributions to gender studies through analysis of representations of women, race, and culture in mediated context. This program of research has yielded more than 80 publications, as well as one of the most popular intercultural communication texts in the field. Additionally, Dr. Harris's dedication to the field is evidenced by her extraordinary teaching and mentorship. Congratulations, Dr. Harris. Our fourth distinguished scholar to be recognized this year is Charles E. Morris III of Syracuse University. Dr. Morris is a professor and chairperson in the Department of Communication and Rhetorical Studies at Syracuse University. Dr. Morris is a leading scholar of LGBTQIA+ work and rhetoric and has co-edited 5 books and published over 20 essays in top journals. In addition to co-founding QED, a journal in LGBTQ world-making, Dr. Morris has edited close to 10 forums and special issues and has worked to bring his scholarship on Harvey Milk to the broader public. This service and mentorship establishes Dr. Morris as one of the discipline's best. Congratulations, Dr. Morris. Our fifth distinguished scholar to be recognized this year is Kent A. Ono from the University of Utah. Dr. Ono's research on representations of race, gender, sexuality, class, and nation has shaped the field, especially the area of critical cultural studies. Dr. Ono has published 7 original and edited books, more than 60 articles and chapters, and has won numerous awards from NCA, including this year, as well as other national and international scholarly organizations. Further, Dr. Ono's exemplary record of service at all levels shows his dedication to making academia a rewarding and safe space for all. Congratulations, Dr. Ono. Our 6th and final distinguished scholar to be recognized is Lynn H. Turner of Marquette University. Dr. Turner is Professor Emerita of Communication Studies at Marquette University. A specialist in family and gender communication, Dr. Turner has consistently been at the forefront of diverse family relationships and challenges, as well as intersectionalities. This groundbreaking program of research has yielded 6 scholarly books and handbooks, 7 textbooks, and more than 60 articles, chapters, and reviews of other publications. For these field-defining works, Dr. Turner has earned outstanding research awards from a host of scholarly organizations, including NCA. Dr. Turner's service and mentoring have similarly cemented her status as a leading voice in the discipline, most prominently as president of the Organization for the Study of Communication, Language, and Gender from 1992 to 1994, Central States Communication Association in 2004-2005, and NCA in 2011. Congratulations, Dr. Turner. So this concludes the awards presentation. Join me one more time in a round of applause for all the 2022 National Award winners. Yeah, I just want to say. I also just want to take the time. I just want to take the time to again acknowledge how these are folks who are role models for me, for so many of us. And to just informally really appreciate all the ways that you impacted me and so many in this room. Thank you.
Okay, we have one more piece of official business before we end the session, and that is at the awards ceremony, we typically do the ceremonial passing of the gavel, even though you still got me as president for another month or so. So I am so very pleased, again, to thank Waleed for his service so far. And we look forward to 2023 when he will be our 109th president. So Waleed, the passing of the gavel. Yes, of course.
Thank you, Roseanne. I'm sure I'll make lots of mistakes as president, but I certainly appreciate any feedback that you all give me at any time. It's welcome. So thank you again, and this ceremony is now concluded. So let's see here. That concludes NCA's annual presidential address and awards. Stick to the script. We'll lead script to the script. In celebration, we have champagne by the exit doors. Feel free to raise a glass to all our winners this year. Thank you for all coming. Enjoy the rest of the convention.